Hello, champions, and welcome back to PW English with your Diksha ma'am. So, let's get started with the new energy because we are going to start with the 12th class chapters. So, yes, we have almost completed. We have almost completed the 11th class chapters, and now it's time to start with the 12th class chapter, that's human reproduction. But before starting that chapter, I just wanted to tell you just one single thing. I want to give you one piece of advice as your sister. I'm not a teacher for you. I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. I don't want you kids to get afraid of me. I want you kids to know me, and I want to tell you that it's not done here. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning. So, for all those who think they have not done much in the 11th standard, or they think, oh my god, there has been so many chapters, I have not completed all the chapters, and oh my god, the 12th standard has been started. Just give yourself a pause there. Start with the new energy. What has happened has happened. Give it the another time. But here, right now, I'm starting the 12th class. Just let it be inside you. Let it be so powerful. Let it be so energetic, and let it be so overpowering to you, so that you, when you just sit down and you relax and you started studying, you think, yes, I have done it. I have done something. So just be relaxed, chill, and start doing 12th class with full energy. So I know you guys can do it. You are just like me. Whenever I feel I'm teaching anyone, I feel like some of them are like Diksha. They are another young Diksha there. I was there at time. I was also there. The time you are going through, I was also there somewhere down the line. I was there. So I have felt, what if someone has given me the another chance? What if someone has given me the another chance? What if the education was free and I could have done it? So do not think that if this is free and you just cannot make out anything out of it. We are giving 101%. I can make sure I teach you everything. Every teacher in this batch teaches you everything. So just spread it like a fire so that those students in need, they will get to know about PW champions and they will get out everything from it. I want everyone will get this education. They would crack NEET with just without cost education. So let's get started with human reproduction chapter. So what we are going to study here. What is a reproduction, first of all? What is a reproduction? Reproduction is perpetuation of a species. Perpetuation of a species. That means multiplication of a species. You are multiplying and giving birth to new individuals, so that when you die, some of you, like you, should already be there in this planet Earth, right? So it's just a multiplication of species. But when I'm talking about humans, we are viviparous. What is a viviparous? What is a viviparous organism? That organism that give birth to young ones. Organism that give birth to young ones. That give birth to young ones. They are all viviparous. The opposite to the viviparous is oviparous, which says that egg laying animals, right? So all the egg laying, we you call them as the oviparous. So if I talk about what are the various processes in human reproduction, is this a one process step? No, there are number of steps involved. It's not just one process. It's not that simple. What do you think? It's quite complicated. First of all, because in reproduction, the very important point is fusion of gametes. The very important point is fusion of gametes. So you need to form the gametes. You need to form the gametes. The first is gametogenesis. First is gametogenesis. That is, you have to produce the gametes. Second, when you have produced the gametes, you want to fertilize them now. So the next is fertilization. But before fertilization, what do you want? You want that a male gamete should enter into a female gamete, and that's insemination, wherein the male the male deposit its semen, which is full of sperm. It deposits its semen, which is full of sperm, into the female's vagina, and you call it as insemination. Like there is one male and other female, both are producing their own gametes, and then now gametes wants to meet. For that, the male will deposit its sperm into the female reproductive part, and you call it as insemination. Then we have the third one. Now, what's the third one? Now, the gametes they're going to meet because male has deposited it in the female, and that's fertilization. And that fertilization. What after the fertilization? Now, what will happen? After fertilization, the embryo will be formed, the zygote will be formed, that will form the embryo, and embryo will get implanted in the female's uterus. And what do you call it as? You call it as implantation. Implantation. After implantation, what is going to happen? The baby is going to form, and you call it as pregnancy and gestation. Now baby is ready to come out, and that's delivery of the baby, and you call it as parturition. So this is how you were born. Your mother and father, they produce gametes in their organs, in their sex organs. Then here, now the male will deposit the semen into the female reproductive tract. The fertilization will take place. After fertilization, whatever zygote is formed, that will get on the uterus, and now gestation, that means pregnancy will go on, and then the delivery of baby. So what is gametogenesis? Formation of gametes. It is the formation of gametes. What's in insemination? Deposition of gametes into the female tract. Which gamete? Male gamete. Now fertilization is fusion of gametes. Implantation is the embedding of embryo on the female's uterus. We will be discussing all of these in this entire chapter. Embedding of embryo. Next, we have gestation, that's pregnancy, and parturition, that's delivery. So all of these we will be discussing in this entire chapter. It was just the introduction of the name, so that you will get to know what you're going to study in this chapter. So we'll start with the male reproductive system, because we need to know the gametogenesis. If you do not know what is the gametogenesis, you will not get to know how the fertilization takes place. And if you don't know the reproductive system, how will you get to know where the gametes are formed? So for that, you need to understand what is a male and female reproductive system. So let's get started. So first of all, the male reproductive system consists of primary reproductive organ, that's testes. Why you call it as testes? It's the primary reproductive or sex organ, because here the gametes are formed. So the gametes are formed in the testes. Next we have the glands, the ducts, and the external genitalia. So this is all the different parts of a male reproductive system, and we are going to study all of them. So let's have a quick view of the entire system. Let's get started, boys and girls, here with the full energy. All right. So let's draw it. If this is a penis, this is a scrotum, This is a rectum, and that's the hip portion of a male, right? So here, what do we have here? This structure is penis. This is scrotum. What is a scrotum? Scrotum is a sac-like structure in which testes are present. What are present? Testes are present. So that's the scrotum. So the scrotum is, it's a bag-like structure. Definitely, it's made up of skin. It's present outside the abdomen. So this region is the abdomen of a male. So anything which is present outside it, you call it as extra abdominal. So here we say the testes are present. The testes are present inside the scrotum, and scrotum is present outside the abdomen. Hence, the location of testes is extra abdominal. So this is the testes. So this is the testes. All right. Now, this testes, it's connected with a lot of ducts, right? The testes is forming the gametes. So we want that gamete should come out through penis. This structure is penis. We want that the gametes of testes should come out through penis. So for that, we need to have a transport system. And that transport system is run by your duct system. You need some pipes to get water out from your taps, right? This is how it works now. You have a tank above your house on the terrace, which is full of water, and through pipes, the water came down into your taps. Just like that, this is a tap, and this is your tank, and then you need a lot of pipes here. So the first pipe here, which you see, which leave the testes, is your vas deferens. So here you have a urinary bladder. What do you have here? A urinary bladder. The vas deferens will loop over the urinary bladder. What is this? Urinary bladder. It will loop over the urinary bladder and it will meet with someone. Who is that someone? The duct of seminal vesicles. The duct of seminal vesicles. So that's a seminal vesicle and it has a duct here. Okay. What is a seminal vesicle now? Seminal vesicle is a type of a gland. I have told you the male reproductive system is made up of glands, ducts, external genitalia, and of course testes. So here we have this duct which is vas deferens. I'm repeating it. Vas deferens loops over the urinary bladder and it will meet with the duct of seminal vesicle. It will meet with the duct of seminal vesicle. Right now, both the ducts, the vas deferens and the seminal vesicles duct, they are joining and forming a new duct. They are joining and forming a new duct, and this is ejaculatory duct. Which duct is this? Ejaculatory duct. This is ejaculatory duct. Now, this ejaculatory duct is going to meet with someone. Who is that? Let's see. Here we have a gland that is a prostate gland. Which gland? Prostate. So one gland is seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles. And another gland is a prostate gland. Is a prostate gland. Boys and girls, I am just letting you know the entire overview. Right now, we are not discussing anything about the detail. We are just talking about the overview. Okay. So here we have prostate gland, and in the prostate gland, what is going to enter here? The urethra. The urethra is present, and here the ejaculatory duct is going to enter here. Just like this. Okay. Urethra is now going to leave the structure and it is getting entered here. It is going to enter here in the penis. It is going to enter here in the penis. Right? So here what we have, the structure, the entire structure is urethra. And this structure is your penis. And this extended part of the penis is glans penis, which is covered by the skin. You call it as foreskin. All right, so this is the overview of your this system, and that's the rectum. All right, so here we have testes present in a sac-like structure known as scrotum. So let's just go and dive a little deeper in the detail. So first of all, I'm going to discuss the testes with you, boys and girls. So testes, as I've told you, this is extra abdominal. That means it is present outside the abdomen. It is present outside the abdomen. It's extra abdominally present. Why there is a need to put it outside the abdomen when you have all the organs inside the abdomen? The reason is that you need lower temperature for formation of sperm, right? And the formation of sperm is known as spermatogenesis. So here, testes is extra abdominal. So where it is present, I have told you it is present in the scrotum. It is present in the scrotum, right? Another thing, why it is extra abdominal? For spermatogenesis. It needs lower temperature. How much lower? 2 to 2.5 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than body temperature. But for what purpose it needs? It needs lower temperature for spermatogenesis. What is spermatogenesis? Formation of gametes. Fine. All right. Then let's talk about another thing. If I talk about testes, was it always present in the abdomen? You said, ma'am, the boy was born, and yes, it was in the outside of the body, or whether it was the extra abdominal, right? When I say when a boy is born, its testes were outside the abdomen. So then, why I am asking this question? Is it always the outside the abdomen? Is it abdominal? Why I am asking this question? Because there is a reason. The testes were earlier during fetal development. What is a fetal development? When a boy is in the mother's womb. During that time, up to 7 months of pregnancy, the testes were present in the abdomen. Later on, it descent into the scrotum, right? So, the descent of testes takes place during 7th month of pregnancy. If there is a boy, that boy, when that boy was a fetus, at that time the boy had the testes in the abdomen, but during 7th month of pregnancy, that fetus, its testes, it came down in the scrotum. Fine. So here we say that the descent of testes takes place. It takes place during what? During the fetal life of a boy. Okay. So now let's see the longitudinal section of testes. So if this is a testes, now if I'm cutting it like this, that's a longitudinal section. So inside the testes is present the small lobules, which are known as testicular lobules. So before that, I would like to tell you that it has outermost coverings. One is tunica vaginalis. Outermost covering is tunica vaginalis, and inner covering is tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea. So this tunica albuginea, which is a connective tissue, it is dividing the inside of a testes into lobes. Into what? Testicular lobes or lobules. So these are testicular lobes or lobules. So these are testicular lobules. How many testicular lobules are there? Around 200 to 250 testicular lobules are there. And inside the testicular lobule, each testicular lobule is present 1, 2, 3 seminiferous tubule. What are present? These structures you call them as seminiferous tubules. So how many seminiferous tubules are there? 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules are there per testicular lobule. How many testicular lobules are there per testes? Around 200 to 250. Now, out of these testicular lobules comes out certain ducts. So from here, the duct system starts. So from here, the duct system starts. So let's have a view. First of all, from here, small straight tubules, small straight tubules or ducts will arrive. You call them as tubuli recti. What do you call them as? Tubuli recti. Right. All these are going to drain into another small junction. All these are going to drain into another small junction. And what's the name of the junction? Its name is rete testes. So all these tubuli recti, which are small ducts coming out from the seminiferous tubule, they're going to drain into rete testes. This rete testes, it's going to open into the vasa efferentia. The vasa efferentia is the one which is present even the inside as well as the outside. It's emerging outwards, right? So it's inside and it is going outward. So that's the vasa efferentia. Now this vasa efferentia is going to open into, epididymis. It is going to open into epididymis. Okay. Now this epididymis is going to open into vas deferens. So this is vas deferens. And the rest story you knows. And then the vas deferens will come out. The vas deferens will come out from the testes. It will loop over the urinary bladder, meet with the duct of seminal vesicle and enter into urethra. So if someone asks you what is a route, of a transport of a sperm, what is the route of a transport of a sperm? We have testes, and inside testes we have testicular lobules, and these lobules have seminiferous tubules. These seminiferous tubules, here the sperm is formed. So if someone asks you what is the site of spermatogenesis, you will say that's the seminiferous tubule. Okay, so the story starts from seminiferous tubule. I'm writing how the sperm moves. Seminiferous tubule. From seminiferous tubule, where it is going? It is going to tubuli recti. It is going to tubuli recti, right? You can see here, tubuli recti, then to rete testes, then to vas efferens, then to epididymis, then vas deferens. Let's write it up. Tubuli recti, then rete testes. Then what do we have after rete testes? We have here tubuli recti, then rete testes, and then we have vasa efferentia or vas efferens. You also call it as vas efferens. Right. After that, after vasa efferentia, what do we have? After vasa efferentia, it's going to open into epididymis. After epididymis, vas deferens. After vas deferens, it's going to open into, yes, it is going to meet with the duct of seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle, the duct of seminal vesicle and the vas deferens, which is bringing the sperm, they are going to form ejaculatory duct. And after the ejaculatory duct, they are entering into what? They are entering into urethra. Now this urethra has, in the male, it has three parts. You know, the males, they have a special thing than females. The female have separate opening for excretory system, separate opening for reproductive system, and separate opening for the digestive system. So in the male, we have only two opening. One is for the digestive system, that's anus, and another is a common opening for both reproductive system and urinary system. Fine. So male have a common opening for both reproductive system as well as the excretory system, and you call it as urinogenital system. If you see this diagram, see, here we have urethra. So in male, we have urinary bladder. So the urine is going to pass out from this only. In fact, the sperm and semen is also going to come out from this only. You know what is semen? The white color substance that contains sperm. It's a fluid like, it's a white colored milky appearance. It contains sperm. So everything is moving out from the same duct, that's urethra only. So if you compare it with the female have very shorter urethra, around 4 centimeter long, whereas males have a longer urethra. So we have divided the urethra. We have divided the urethra into three parts. One is a part that is passing through this gland, that's a prostate gland. Another, we have a very small gland here, the P-shaped gland, that's the bulbourethral gland. That's the bulbourethral gland or Copper's gland. So the one which is around Copper's gland or bulbourethral gland is membranous. Okay. And now after this, we have the one which passes through penis, that's the penile urethra. So we have divided the urethra into three parts. One is the one which passes through prostate gland, that's prostatic. Another membranous, which is present around your Copper's gland. Another is penile, which passes through penis. So urethra in male is around 20 centimeter long. It's very long. Female has shorter one. It has a longer one. And as I've told you, through this, the semen as well as the urine, they both will pass. So urine and semen passes through it. Passes through it. All right, I hope that's pretty clear to everyone now. That's the route of the sperm. So from here, seminiferous tubule, here the spermatogenesis will take place. What is spermatogenesis? Formation of sperm. So let's see how this seminiferous tubules it looks like. Let's see. So these are just circular structures, well-like structures like this. And they are lined by cuboidal epithelium. What are they lined by? They are lined by cuboidal epithelium like this. They are lined by cuboidal epithelium. Okay. All right. So this cuboidal epithelium is going to form sperm. Apart from this, also there are also present the tall cells, which are Sertoli cells. Which cells? Sertoli cells, like these. And these cells have tight junctions amongst them. Okay. So listen to me very carefully. So this is a germinal epithelium. And it is going to form the sperm. So different stages of spermatogenesis you can easily see here. But this portion, this is a lumen. Lumen is an empty space. Here you will see a lot of sperms. A lot of sperms in the lumen. Okay. So that's the sperms or spermatozoa. Apart from this are present certain cells which are Sertoli cells. You also call them as nurse cells or sustentacular cells. Nurse cells or sustentacular cells. So these nurse cells or sustentacular cell, as you can see, their name is nurse. So they are going to take care of someone, and who's that? That's sperm. So they are going to nourish these sperms. They also help in spermatogenesis. What is that process of spermatogenesis? That you will get to know during your gamete formation. Okay. Then here its important function is that it is also protecting the sperms, right? Because in blood there are a lot of bad things or bad substances like antibody microbes. So you don't want that blood to enter into seminiferous tubule. You don't want that blood to enter into the seminiferous tubule. So these are forming tight junctions. So they are all over it. They are forming tight junctions. What do they have? They have tight junctions. So this is how they are forming a barrier between blood and your testes. So Sertoli cells are forming a barrier between the blood and the testes so that the blood should not enter into the testes and no bad thing should get into it. So they are forming blood testes barrier. All right. They're also secreting some things. They're also secreting something. So that so that no female ducts are formed inside a male embryo. So all the boys, when you were in your mother's womb, you had certain ducts, and that ducts had the capability to form female reproductive parts in you. You saying, ma'am, what are you saying? Yes, that's true. That's Mullerian duct. So when there is a fetus inside mother's womb, it has both the duct, the male and the female. But the Sertoli cells, there they came into rescue and gave you AMF. Now that AMF suppresses the female duct inside you and you become male, right? So no female parts are present inside you. Say thanks to Sertoli cell, they gave you AMF. So they secrete anti-Mullerian factor. They secrete anti-Mullerian factor that will suppress Mullerian duct. It will suppress the Mullerian duct. What's a Mullerian duct? That's a female duct. That's a female duct. So it suppress Mullerian duct. Mullerian, I'm putting female here, right? Okay. Apart from this are present here certain cells known as Leydig cells. What cells are here? Leydig cells. Leydig cells or interstitial cells. These cells, they secrete androgens. Now what are androgens? Androgens are testosterone. What are these? Testosterone, right? It's a male hormone. What is it? It's a male hormone. So both these are working on the influence of someone, and that's what? That's hormones. So Sertoli cell function under the influence of FSH and Leydig cells function under the influence of LH. What are the functions of male hormone? Let's see. So first of all, testosterone, what is its function? It controls secondary sexual characters. Now, what are secondary sexual characters? These all are the characters that a man or a male gets during puberty and it looks like a male. You see, when a human being have a lot of beard on the face, what do you call it, as a male or a female? You say that's a male because that's its secondary sexual character. Secondary, why not you call it as a primary? Because it came during puberty. It was not a main character. It came later on when the male hits the puberty. You know, in Hindi we say that's the Javani ka Josh, right? So when the testosterone arises, the secondary sexual characters appears. What are these? Getting beard and mustaches, deep voice. Female have, high pitch voice, like I am screaming right now. I'm a female. Males have a low pitch voice. The males, they have a low pitch voice. So these are different characters, all right? These are different characters like beard or mustaches, deep voice or low pitch voice. Otherwise, the male, if you see, they have a broad shoulders, and female have the narrow shoulders, right? So they have broad shoulders. They will show muscle growth. There will be development of the sex organs. Like the external genitalia, penis will grow. Okay? The external genitalia like the penis will grow. Then here, testosterone in male also increases spermatogenesis. That is sperm formation. Also, the testosterone helps in erythropoiesis. What is erythropoiesis? Formation of RBCs. It helps in the formation of RBCs, the red blood cells. All right. Okay. So these were some of the functions of testosterone, and a very important function is sexual drive, libido. Libido. You call it as libido. Okay. So it will work on the CNS, the central nervous system, and it will control the sexual drive or desire. All right. So let's move back here to the structure. So we have discussed the Sertoli cells and the Leydig cell, and here are also present some cells. You call them as immunocompetent cells. These are the cells of immune system. Now, why is there present? They are present. They are present so that they are present so that the immune system should work here. If there is any microbes or something like that, that can cause destruction to testes. So here in the seminiferous tubule you will see different stages of a spermatogenesis. So now what are that stages? Let's see. First of all, this germinal epithelium, it will divide and it will form spermatogonia. Now what are these? Spermatogonia. The germinal epithelium will divide and form spermatogonia. Spermatogonia will then form primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte will later on form the secondary spermatocyte. Secondary spermatocyte will later form spermatid. It will form spermatid. So that's spermatid. And spermatid will then form the sperms. Let's discuss all this in detail. Right? Yeah, it's going to be fun. Let's talk about them in detail. Spermatogenesis. What is spermatogenesis? It's the formation of male gamete. So when does a spermatogenesis starts in a male? When does it start? It starts during puberty. It starts during puberty. What is spermatogenesis? Formation of male gamete. Formation of male gamete. Right? So let's get started. So first of all, what do we have here? We have this germinal epithelium. This germinal epithelium is cuboidal, simple cuboidal epithelium. This germinal epithelium is a simple cuboidal epithelium. Alright. So here this germinal epithelium, it is going to grow and it is forming a lot of spermatogonia. What it is forming? It is forming spermatogonia. It is forming spermatogonia. This spermatogonia is going to grow further. It is going to undergoing mitosis. What are they doing? They are doing mitosis. They are doing what? They are doing mitosis. So here what is happening? Mitosis. Because they want to grow. They want to increase their number so that a lot of sperms are formed. Here, one of them is going to grow and you will call it as primary spermatocyte. Primary spermatocyte. So all the cells here are right now diploid. Why? Because no meiosis has taken place. You know the meiosis is reductional division. No meiosis has taken place. So this primary spermatocyte, it is now undergoing meiosis 1. It will start the meiosis 1 and you know meiosis 1 is a reductional division. It's a reductional division and it is going to form two secondary spermatocyte. Now these are N. They are haploid. They are haploid. Why? Because the first meiosis, that's the reduction, has taken place. Now what will happen? They are further going to form four spermatids. Now what are these? These are spermatids. Why? Because meiosis 2 has taken place. Because meiosis 2 has taken place. That's the equational division. Now the four spermatids will be formed. That is again haploid. These spermatids, now they're going to attach to your Sertoli cell. Where they're going to attach? They're going to attach to Sertoli cell. This is your Sertoli cell. And now these are going to attach here like this. And later on from these spermatids, sperms will form. What will be formed? Sperms. How many sperms? 4 sperms will be formed. Okay. So from here spermatid, what will be formed? The sperm will be formed. What is this? This is Sertoli cell. Okay, so here the sperms are formed from spermatid. So you call this process as spermiogenesis. Spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis. All right. So, what is spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis? The formation of sperm from the spermatid. All right. So, here these sperms are now going to leave the head of Sertoli cell. You have another name for that process, and that's permeation. What is that? Spermiation. Formation of a sperm from spermatid is spermiogenesis or spermatogenesis. But release of sperm from the head, from the head of Sertoli cell is permeation. So when this sperm is getting out from the head of this Sertoli cell, you will call it as the spermiation, right? So this is how a sperm is formed. And again, the sperm is also N. All right. So this is the process of spermatogenesis that takes place in your seminiferous tubule. Let's talk about the structure of a sperm. How a sperm looks like. Sperm. What is another name of a sperm? The spermatozoa. Spermatozoa. So whenever a male have a sexual drive, it at the end of the that sexual drive or during sexual intercourse, the male releases the sperm. The male releases the sperm, and that process is ejaculation. What is that? Ejaculation. And in that ejaculation, the male releases 5 ml of semen. How much semen? 5 ml. So we say in that 5 ml of a semen, around 200 to 300 million sperms are present, right? So in one sexual intercourse, the male is releasing, a healthy male, a fertile male is releasing around 200 to 300 million sperm per ejaculation. So how many sperms are there per ejaculation in a healthy man? In a healthy man. In a healthy man. Around 200 to 300 million sperms are present per ejaculation. So if that count is, it's below 20 million per ml. Per ejaculation, how much semen is released? 5 ml semen. Okay. But if I'm saying a male is infertile, so during infertility, we say it is less than 20 million per ml. All right. So if I'm saying a man is having a semen, and in that semen the sperm count is around less than 20 million per ml, I will call it as infertile, because at that position the male will not be able to meet the demands, and it will not be able to go up and fertilize the ova. So a lot of sperm count should be there to enhance the probability of fertilization. If it is less, the probability will be less for fertilization. So out of this 200 to 300 million, whenever I'm talking about the 200 to 300 million, out of this 200 to 300 million, around 60%, 60% should have proper shape. And of that, 40% should be motile. And that should be vigorously motile. Okay? Only then I will call that man is healthy and fertile. If a male have around 200 to 300 million sperms in like around 5 ml of a semen, or I say the per ejaculation, that man is fertile, but only if out of that 60% sperms they have proper shape, and out of that 40% should have vigorous motility. If I say, I'm not talking about 60-40 out of 100, I'm saying 200 to 300 million, 60%, and now 40% of this 60%. So out of those sperms which are there, they both have proper shape and both have proper vigorous motility. They are going to fertilize the ova. So let's talk about the shape of a sperm. So if I draw the structure of a sperm, you will see the body of a sperm is divided into various parts. The body of a sperm is divided into various parts. Now what are these parts? So this portion is the head. This small portion is the neck. This portion is the middle piece. And this portion is the tail. Okay, here. So this portion, this one is a nucleus. What is this? This is a nucleus. And above nucleus is present the acrosomal cap. What is present? The acrosome or acrosomal cap. What is this acrosome? Acrosome or acrosomal cap is a cluster of Golgi bodies. Golgi bodies that the same you do in the cell. So these clusters of Golgi bodies, they contain a lot of enzyme, and these enzymes are very much important to fertilize the ova. So acrosome or acrosomal cap, they have enzymes to penetrate the egg. So why do we need them? So that we should enter inside the egg. Then we have nucleus. In the neck region, we have two centrioles. So one is proximal centriole and another is distal centriole. Out of this, the distal centriole will form axial filaments and they will form the tail. What they're forming? They're forming tail. Why there is a need of a tail? Tail will do whiplash movement and helps in the running of the tail or running of the sperm. You know, the sperm moves. You must have seen that movie 3 Idiots first scene. The sperm is running here and there just like that. So inside the middle piece is present the mitochondria, and that mitochondria is present in a spiral fashion, as you can see, in a spiral fashion. What do you call it as? You call it as Nebenкern. All right. So here the mitochondria is present in a spiral fashion like this, and this arrangement is known as a Nebenкern. What do you call it as? Nebenкern. If someone asks you what is a Nebenкern, you will say it's a spiral arrangement of mitochondria. It's a spiral arrangement of mitochondria, right? So that's the structure of sperm, boys and girls. And you know, for fertility, how much sperm a boy needs now? Around 200 to 300 million per ejaculation, and out of it 60% should have proper shape and 40% should have vigorous motility. So now let's talk about the glands. So we have 3 glands here in males. What are these? You have seen that diagram? How many glands are there? You have seen that diagrams? Okay. So we have 3 glands here. One is this, which is present behind urinary bladder. That's seminal vesicle. What is that? Seminal vesicle. So first thing, where is seminal vesicle present? It is behind urinary bladder. How many seminal vesicles are there? 2. You will say, ma'am, I am just you have just drawn the one structure. The second will be present around there. Okay, that means behind the urinary bladder. So if this is a urinary bladder, it is present behind the urinary bladder like this. Okay, then you have another gland, that's a prostate gland, and this prostate gland, you can see it's present below the urinary bladder. It's single. It has no pairing. It has no wife. It is single. Then we have a very small P-shaped gland. These are Copper's gland or bulbourethral gland. All right. Okay. So these are 3 glands. Let's write them about which are paired, which are unpaired. As I've told you, this one is single, whereas seminal vesicle is paired. Also, the Copper's gland is also paired. The function of Copper's gland is to provide lubrication. It provides lubrication. Whereas seminal vesicles, it is a source of fructose. So we say in semen, what is present in semen? In semen is present the seminal fluid plus the sperms. These seminal fluid are contributed by these glands. The seminal fluid is contributed by these glands, whereas sperm is contributed by the testes. Okay, so here the prostate gland, it contributes like calcium ions and certain enzymes which do not clot, some citric acid like that. Okay, whereas as I've told you, the bulbourethra, its only function is lubrication. It will provide a lot of mucus. So let's write them about all the 3 glands. We have 3 glands, the seminal vesicles. And what do we have? We have prostate, And then we have Copper's gland or bulbourethra. All right. So here, first we have the seminal vesicle. Seminal vesicle, as I've told you, it's paired. Prostate is unpaired, and this is also paired. The function of Copper's gland is lubrication. It will provide lubrication, right? Whereas prostate gland, it's a source of calcium ions. It's a source of citric acid. It's a source of enzymes, right? This is a gland which is responsible for the milky appearance. I told you semen looks like a milk. So it provides milky appearance to semen. Whereas this one, it contributes fructose, a lot of mucus, and it provides alkaline nature to semen. Okay? So when I'm talking about semen, semen is formed of seminal fluid plus sperms. This seminal fluid, it is contributed by these three. Okay, as I've told you, it provides alkaline nature to the semen. So the pH is around 7.2 to 7.7. Okay, it's quite alkaline. So seminal fluid is contributed by these three, and the semen is white milky in appearance, and this is the one that gets out during ejaculation and gets inseminated in the female's reproductive tract. Okay, all right, let's talk about the penis now. Penis. So penis is the external genitalia. It's the external genitalia. As you have seen, it is made up of connective tissues. What it is made up of? Connective tissues. The name of a connective tissue is corpora cavernosa, which are 2 in number, and corpus spongiosum. That is one. Okay. So if I take a section of a penis, what I will see, these tissues. These are erectile tissues. What are these erectile? That means whenever a male is having the erection during sexual desire, the male's penis gets hard during sexual desire, you call it as erection, and that's due to these tissues. Now, what is their contribution? So penis is a pendulum organ. As we have seen, it's a pendular organ like this. It is this last portion is swollen, and it's glans penis, and it's covered by a skin. You call it as foreskin. Inside there is a urethra, and that's the urethral meatus. So if I cut it in this way, I will see 3 tissues here. So these are the tissues that are running right down here in the penis. I will find 2 corpora cavernosa and 1 corpus spongiosum, and corpus spongiosum has the opening known as urethral meatus. Okay, so these are corpora cavernosa, this is corpus spongiosum. Now, how they are helping in erection of a penis? The erect penis is around 15 centimeter long in a male. So if this is a penis, it has these tissues, and these tissues have a blood vessels in them. Okay, they have blood vessels. These are blood vessels. A lot of blood vessels are there in the penis. So whenever there is erection, the blood vessels gets dilated. The blood vessel get dilated, and the blood gets accumulated in these sinuses. When a blood gets accumulated in these sinuses, the penis gets hard. This is how a penis gets erected. Fine. So the point here to take away is that you just need to remember the penis is the external genitalia. Through this, the urethra passes, and it is made up of erectile tissues, which are connective tissue, the corpora cavernosa and corpus spongiosum. I hope that's pretty clear to everyone. So that was all about the male reproductive system. Let's talk about the female reproductive system. So the female reproductive is, as same as the male reproductive system. So here we also have primary sex organ. We also have a primary sex organ, that's ovaries. The testes were one pair, the ovaries are one pair, right? The testes were also one pair, ovaries are also one pair. So here, these are primary sex organ, which are ovaries, the one pair. Otherwise, it also have the same duct system as the male. It also have glands and it also have external genitalia. So let's talk about them. Just we will follow the same pattern. We will firstly focus on the entire overview structure. Then we'll talk about the various systems. So let's first discuss the overview. So let's draw the diagram. All right. So this is ovaries. These are ovaries. These are ovaries. Ovaries are attached to your abdominal wall by ligaments. Now, what's that? Ligaments are like fold of skin. Your ovary is present just right. Imagine this is abdomen, ovary is present right here. So down the gravity, it can easily fall away. So what nature has done, if this is a ovary, they have used a skin and they have attached it like that. Just like you're using a tape to attach this pen on my shirt like this. So ligaments are just like tapes. They are folds of skin that are attaching the ovary, to the abdominal wall as well as to the uterus. Okay, so it is attached to the abdominal wall and the uterus via ligaments. Then we have this structure, which is the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube have different parts. First of all, it has this structure. This is infundibulum. Infundibulum is a part that is near to ovary and it has these finger-like projections, which is fimbrae. So infundibulum is present to ovary and it has finger-like projections known as fimbrae. Then this portion, the one which is the widest one, it is ampulla and it is a site of fertilization. It is ampulla and it's a site of fertilization. Then this portion which is attaching it to the other part, that's isthmus, and this portion is uterus. This entire portion is the uterus. Okay, uterus has various parts. This is the fundus portion of uterus, right? This is the body portion, and this portion is the cervix. Now this portion is female's vagina that open to the outside. All right, that's the overview of of the female reproductive system. Let's talk about them in more detail. So guys, we'll start with the duct system, and the duct system starts from fallopian tube, right? So let's get started with fallopian tube. So if I talk about fallopian tube, as I've told you, fallopian tubes, they are consist of three parts, and they another name is oviducts. What is the other name of the fallopian tube? That's oviduct, because it is conducting what? They're conducting ovum. They are letting the transport of ova, so it's a duct. So it is also known as the oviduct. Okay, so that's fallopian tube. It is of it is divided into three parts. One is the infundibulum, and infundibulum have the finger-like projections known as fimbrae. Then we have ampulla, the widest portion, and then we have the isthmus. What do we have? Isthmus. So this one is this infundibulum. It is near the ovary. It is near the ovary and it has finger-like projections. It has finger-like projections. In ampulla, we say the site of fertilization because here the fertilization takes place. And then this is also the widest portion. Then the isthmus, this is the one that joins uterus. If I talk about fallopian tube, these are the parts which have a lot of cilia. So you will see the ciliated epithelium. It contains columnar, ciliated, simple epithelium. Now, why there is a need of columnar and ciliated? First of all, the function of this ciliated epithelium is it helps the transport of ova. You know, you have ovaries here, and ovaries will, give the ova, and that is catched by the fimbriae. How their location is? You have here the ovary, and this is the fimbriae, the finger-like projection, and this is the entire fallopian tube. So this ovary will give the ova and the finger-like projections will catch it. They have the opening here known as ostium. What do they have? Ostium. And now after the ova enters here, it is going to move inside with the help of cilia. Cilia is going to do these, the propulsions, the motions. And this is how the cilia will allow the movement of ova. So what's the function of cilia? Cilia allows the movement of ova. It will allow the movement of the ova. Fine. All right. So this was about the fallopian tube. Next, let's talk about the uterus. Uterus is also known as womb. Uterus is also known as the womb. All right. So when talk about uterus, it's a sac-like structure. It's inverted pear shape. What is its shape? It's inverted pear shape. Inverted pear shape. Let's see. Like this. Okay, it's inverted pear shape. If you see inside the uterus, you will find it's three part. This portion is the fundus, right? This portion is the body, fine, and this is the cervix. And cervix is present in the form of a canal, so you call it as a cervical canal. What do you call it as? Cervical canal. If you see the wall of the uterus, it is divided into three parts. How many parts? Three parts. The inside one is endometrium, this one. The middle one is made up of a lot of smooth muscle, that's myometrium. That's myometrium. Fine. And the outside is like a peritoneum. So it's a perimetrium. So this one is perimetrium. This one, red one, is myometrium. Myometrium is made up of which muscles? Smooth muscles. It is made up of which muscle? Smooth muscles. Whereas the inside one, this is endometrium. Endometrium is the one which sheds off during what? Menstruation. Whenever a female bleeds during her periods every month, this is a layer that gets sheds off and gets, it again gets regenerated. So every time with the help of hormones, it gets regenerated, and when there are no hormones, it will shed off. So the cycling of which layer takes place? The endometrium. And then we have cervix, which contains cervical canal, and the cervix have cervical glands. These cervical glands, they produce mucus. So what's the function of the uterus? It's a place for gestation, for the place for pregnancy, right? So here the fetus will be present for all long around 9 months during development. And here the formation of placenta will also takes place. Moving further to the next portion, that's vagina. That's down here. Okay, so that's vagina. If I talk about vagina, this is a copulatory canal. You call it as copulatory canal. Why? Because during sexual intercourse, what is another name of sexual intercourse? Copulation. Copulation is another name of sexual intercourse. So during sexual intercourse, the penis gets enter inside vagina, and here it will release its sperms and semen. So semen and sperms are released here during sexual intercourse, and then the sperm will move around. Okay, this vagina, it has no glands. It has no glands, but it has folds of skin that is known as rugae. Folds. Okay. Cervix and vagina. Cervix and vagina, they are collectively known as birth canal. They are collectively known as birth canal. Why birth canal? Because during birth of a baby, the baby moves down here. The baby moves down here and gets come out from this portion. So you call it as the birth canal. Okay. So cervix and vagina, they are collectively known as birth canal. Whereas vagina is, this is the only one which is known as copulatory canal, because here it receives penis during what? During the copulation. All right. Okay, so this was about the uterus. Moving further, let's talk about the ovaries. That's so special, important, and here I will also explain you the the oogenesis, the formation of female gamete. Okay, so ovaries, as you know, we have one pair of ovaries. It's present in abdomen, unlike that of the testes, which were extra abdominal. So the ovary is almond shape, just like your almond. You understand what's almond? A dry fruit. Okay, and it has two areas. How many areas? It has two areas. One is the cortex, that outer region, and the inner one is medulla. In the inner one, you will find the blood vessels, you will find the nerves, whereas in the outer portion, you will find the ovarian follicles. Now, what are these ovarian follicles? Let's have a look. So, for that, you need to understand how the ovary looks like. Okay, let's draw it. So that's how the ovary is. It's not that huge, but it's small, like 2 to 3 centimeter length. But because you know the diagrams are always larger, so don't compare it like that. So here we have the epithelium, which has nothing to do here right now. Unlike that of spermatogenesis. So when I taught you spermatogenesis, I have taught you guys that there is a germinal epithelium that divides and forms spermatogonia. Remember? Yes, yes, yes. In this lecture only. Fine. So there we have done that 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 the germinal epithelium during puberty will divide and form spermatogonia that will later form the sperms. But here the female have different systems. The spermatogenesis starts during puberty. But the oogenesis, it starts before birth. I am a female. When I was in my mother's womb, at that time, I had started oogenesis. But the boy, any boy, it will start its gamete formation during puberty. Right? So here, the oogenesis, it starts before birth. So when a female child is born, or imagine when I was born, in my ovaries, a lot of structures were present in the cortex region. What is a cortex region? This is a cortex region, whereas this inside one is medulla. As I've told you, in the medulla, we have a lot of blood vessels. Okay, we have a lot of blood vessels. So when I was born, I had a lot of small structures in my ovary, and these are known as ovarian follicles. What are these ovarian follicles? These follicles are cluster of cells. What are these? These are cluster of cell. So when I was born, inside me was present follicle, and a follicle which is immature, and the follicles which are immature. When I was born, I had 2 to 20 lakhs of primary follicles, and these primary follicles are immature follicles. So when I reached puberty, it remains only 60 to 80,000. Rest of them died. So when I reached puberty, I had these follicles, around 60 to 80,000 follicles in my ovary. So what are these follicles? So I am drawing one primary follicle. So this is one primary follicle. So these follicles, these are cluster of cells, and inside the cell, Inside this follicle is present a cell. That's the queen. And this queen will become egg sometimes. And this queen will become egg sometimes. So this queen name right now is oocyte. Right? Just like before marriage, when the girl is known as a princess, but when she get married to a king, she becomes a queen. Just like that, right now it's a princess, that's oocyte, which is surrounded by a lot of nerve cells or follicles. Right? So these a lot of structure known as primary follicle. What is the name of the structure? Primary follicle. These a lot of structures were present. Lot of structures were present when I was at my puberty. Around 60 to 80,000 primary follicles were present. But when the puberty hit me, I had a lot of hormones. One hormone that came there was FSH. What was that? FSH. So during puberty, my hormones had risen up. My FSH gets risen up. My FSH gets risen up, and this immature follicle gets mature, and now you will call it as secondary follicle. What do you call it as? Secondary follicle. The secondary follicle is a little larger in size. The secondary follicle is little larger in size. Right? It is little larger in size, and it has an outer layer known as theca layer. Which layer? Theca layer. So this is the primary oocyte. It is still a princess, right? And this one is theca layer, whereas this one is follicular cell, and the entire structure is your secondary follicle. So 2 node means secondary. 2 node means secondary. Now again FSH will come. Again FSH will come. My FSH level has rising. It's rising and rising. Now it will become more mature. And now this follicle will become a tertiary follicle. Now this follicle will become tertiary follicle. As soon as a tertiary follicle is formed, for example, the secondary follicle has turned into secondary. Now the princess will undergo meiosis. The princess will undergo meiosis. Was the princess? Primary oocyte. It will undergo meiosis and it will become secondary oocyte. What it will become? Secondary. Just like that in male we have done the primary spermatocyte, the secondary spermatocyte. Just like that, females also have oocytes. But in male, they were just present alone. Here, they are surrounded by nerve cells. Just that's thing, and they are forming follicles. The main cell, which is equivalent to male spermatocyte, or like male have primary spermatocyte, the male had primary spermatocyte. Here, the male had secondary spermatocyte. Here, that will become secondary oocyte. Okay, so that's a secondary oocyte, and now secondary oocyte will secrete a zona pellucida. It will secrete zona pellucida. Again, it is surrounded by a lot of nerve cells or follicular cells. It is surrounded by a lot of nerve cells or follicular cell. But here are certain new things. This theca layer will get differentiated into two, theca externa and interna, and inside of it there becomes a cavity, small cavity. You will call it as antrum. So that's empty space is antrum. Can you find this empty space? This is antrum. This is antrum. Antrum is an empty space which is formed by follicular cell. You know how? The follicular cells, they have started to secrete something. The follicular cell, they have started to secrete something, and that's a liquid. And that liquid is, getting accumulated. As a result, there is a formation of a fluid filled cavity. That's the antrum. Fluid filled cavity. So that's your tertiary follicle. Which follicle? Tertiary. So tertiary follicle, what does it have? It have theca externa. It has theca interna. And since this has become secondary oocyte, it has secreted a glycoproteinaceous layer, this green one. This is zona pellucida. It's made up of glycoprotein. Now more FSH will come. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone from pituitary. The more a hormone has come, this is going to get bigger. Now it is going to get bigger, and you will call it as a mature follicle. That's your Graphian follicle. That's your Graphian follicle. What's the difference? Not much difference, guys. It has a secondary oocyte, the same as tertiary, and now it is covered by zona pellucida. Yes, and a lot of follicular cell. The only difference is in the size. The only difference is in the size and a big antrum. Okay, so here you have a lot of follicular cell. Here are follicular cell. And what rest is there is antrum. This is antrum. Okay, this is secondary oocyte. Now this follicular cell is forming a hill. So I'll call it as germ hill. I'll call it as germ hill. Now LH will come, luteinizing hormone, and this will undergo ovulation. As a result, the secondary oocyte will escape. Secondary oocyte will escape. Now the king is coming. So the princess is going to become queen. So it has to leave its castle and come outside to meet the king. But it is not taking all its nurse cells, right? It's not taking all its caretakers. So the queen is just coming out with few of the caretakers, which are very much near to the queen, right? So this will come out and it will enter into the fallopian tube. So whatsoever is left, it will become a yellow colored body after ovulation. Here ovulation is happening, the rupture of the Graphian follicle. Whatever is left is your corpus luteum, which is the endocrine body that will secrete hormone progesterone. When the LH will drop, this will regresses to form a white color body, corpus albicans. All right, I'm telling you one more time. When a female hits puberty, she gets a lot of FSH, which leads to the formation of follicles, the growth of follicles. Primary follicle becomes secondary, secondary becomes tertiary, and inside of them is present a princess cell, that's oocyte. It will keep on doing the meiosis and it will form the ovum later on. So these follicles, these are of the different stages, out of which the mature one, that's Graphian follicle, it will rupture in the presence of hormone LH during ovulation. And here whatever is left is it is forming the corpus luteum. The princess will move out. Okay, so the things which is carrying it is carrying with it is this layer of follicular cell, which you call it as corona radiata. It's not the coronavirus, it's the layer of follicular cells. This is zona pellucida, and this is secondary oocyte. Okay, right now I'm calling it secondary oocyte. Again, the egg has not been formed. So let's talk about oogenesis in detail. So let's see how the female's ovum or egg is formed, or the female gamete is formed, and that process is known as oogenesis. What do you call it as? Oogenesis. So oogenesis starts during when? Before birth, right? So as I've told you, the spermatogenesis, it starts during puberty, but females oogenesis starts before birth. For example, when I was in my mother's womb, my oogenesis has started at that place. So when I was born, I had a lot of cluster of cells in my ovary. These are known as follicles. Like in male, we have primary spermatocyte, which is present alone. But in female, the similar primary oocyte is present, but it is covered by cluster of cells. But it is covered by cluster of cells, which you call it as follicle. That we have discussed, right? Now, so when a female is in the mother's womb, she has primary oocytes. Okay, these primary oocytes are formed before birth. Nothing is going to form later on after the birth. So during the birth, the female has around 2 to 20 lakh primary oocyte or primary follicles in her ovary. And during puberty, around 60 to 80,000 follicles are left. After that, nothing is going to form. After birth, nothing new oocyte is going to form. Whatever she has brought from the mother's womb, that is going to be there. Otherwise, nothing is going to be formed new later on after the birth. So when she was in the mother's womb, so I'm talking about the event before birth. So here we have birth. So I'm talking about before birth. So before birth, she has primary oocyte, and these primary oocyte, it was present in which follicle? Primary follicle. Okay. So this primary oocyte, which is present inside the primary follicle, it has started meiosis 1. It has started the meiosis 1. So we say that in female, the meiosis 1 starts before puberty. But what went wrong? This gets at halt. Halt means stoppage. It gets at halt. Halt at prophase 1. It gets at halt of prophase 1. But now when the female is born, all the primary oocyte inside primary follicles, they have started meiosis 1, but they have been stopped due to certain reasons. Now the female's birth has taken place. Now she will reach puberty. She will reach puberty. So during puberty, these follicles are going to grow. The primary follicle is going to grow under the influence of FSH. It is going to grow under the influence of FSH, and later on it will form secondary follicle. Secondary follicle will then form the tertiary follicle. So here the primary follicle during puberty, what's going to happen during puberty? The primary follicle is going to get converted into secondary follicle, secondary into tertiary follicle. Now in the tertiary follicle, meiosis 1 will get complete, and secondary oocyte is formed. Secondary oocyte is formed. In the male, we can see the primary spermatocyte forms 2 secondary spermatocyte, but in female it's different. One is, this first division is unequal. One cell that is formed is larger in size and another is a very small, which is a polar body. Later on it will degenerate. Why are we doing this? We just want reductional division. We want the number from 2n to get n. We don't want to contribute. We don't want to contribute. We don't want to contribute our what? Our cytoplasm, because that's very important. As we have discussed sperm, guys, have I told, is there any cytoplasm in the sperm? In sperm there is no cytoplasm. So during fertilization, both gametes are going to meet. So someone has to have cytoplasm. So here the sperm is not having cytoplasm. That's why we cannot compromise on cytoplasm. So we have done what? We have made one cell larger and another small. That's a polar body. So that's a secondary oocyte. Okay. Like in the males, the primary oocyte, the primary spermatocyte was formed from spermatogonia. The primary oocyte has been formed from oogonia. So oogonia forms primary oocyte, which undergoes meiosis 1. It has started meiosis 1 during birth, before birth, but it will complete it during puberty when the FSH will come, because for completing the first meiosis, it wants tertiary follicle. It wants tertiary follicle to happen. So the first meiosis gets completed in meiosis 1, gets completed in tertiary follicle. In tertiary follicle. Alright, now this secondary oocyte, it will undergo meiosis 2. It will undergo meiosis 2. But it has started the meiosis 2, but again someone stopped it. It has started meiosis 2, but again someone has stopped it. Where it has stopped? At metaphase. At metaphase 2, the halt is again there. Now this halt will get, it will be dissociating, or I will say the meiosis 2 will only be completed during fertilization, when a sperm will come. When a sperm will touch the ovum, ovum will get stimulated. When the sperm will touch ovum, ovum will get stimulated, and now meiosis 2 will be completed and ovum is formed, again a polar body which will degenerate. Okay, so in a female, if there is no sperm there, like in a female who is not pregnant, the sperm has not arrived. So in that female, what has happened? The things have stopped just right here, and this will later on get degenerated. But if the female receives the sperm, the fertilization happens, only then immediately ovum is formed. Later on, after 24 hours, it will become a zygote after fertilization. All right, so ovum will only be formed during fertilization, otherwise it will not be formed. Fine. So you can see in a male, when we compare it with the male chart, when we compare it with the male chart, you have seen there that from one primary spermatocyte, four sperms were formed. How many sperms were formed? Four sperms. Four sperms. Okay. From one primary spermatocyte, how many sperms were formed? Four sperms were formed. Okay. You can see, here you can see from from one primary oocyte, only one ovum is formed, which is also haploid. All right. So this is how in female the oogenesis it takes place. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about the glands in female. So for that, first of all, we'll discuss the mammary glands. Let's discuss the mammary glands. So mammary glands, they are milk producing glands. And these are modified sudoriferous gland. Modified sudoriferous gland. Okay. So if I have this mammary gland in a female, you have seen it already in the book, maybe. So this is how it looks like. Here the female have ribs like this. Okay. And here are certain muscles. There are certain muscles that's supporting the mammary glands. So what muscles are these? Pectoralis. What is the function? They support mammary gland. So if you see inside the mammary glands are present small mammary lobes. What are present? Mammary lobes. Around 15 to 20 mammary lobes are present in one mammary gland. How many? 15 to 20. So these are mammary lobes. How many? 15 to 20. Inside the mammary lobes are present grape-like structure, which are known as alveoli. Again, the grape-like structure were also present in lungs. You also called them as alveoli. And similarly here, they are also known as alveoli. So these are alveoli. Alveoli are glandular structure. That means they will secrete milk. They contain glandular tissue. They will secrete milk. Okay, next. So now we want the milk which is produced here, it should come out through these structures which are known as nipples. And nipples are surrounded by a highly pigmented area known as areola. So we want this milk to come out from nipples. So for that we need certain ducts. What do you need? You need certain ducts. So here there are certain ducts present. First, mammary tubules. So from each alveoli, small ducts will come. That's mammary tubules. These are what? These are mammary tubules. What are these? These are mammary tubules. These mammary tubules will then drain into mammary tubes. Mammary tubes. Mammary tubes will then open into lactiferous duct, and this lactiferous duct has a small swelling like structure known as lactiferous sinus or ampulla. So this structure is lactiferous duct, and it has this swelling like structure known as lactiferous sinus or ampulla. or ampulla. Fine. Now, boys and girls, here see. So, if someone asks you what is the route of milk transport, first alveoli, in alveoli it will be produced, then mammary tubules, small tubes from alveoli, then mammary tubes, then we have the lactiferous duct. The ferrous ducts. These mammary tubes are also known as mammary ducts. Okay. And temporarily milk is stored in the lactiferous sinus or ampulla. So temporarily it is stored in lactiferous sinus or ampulla. What milk is stored here? Fine. So milk is produced in the influence of hormone known as prolactin. So prolactin hormone helps in formation of milk. Helps in formation of milk. Fine. So that's about the female gland. That's very important gland. That's the mammary gland. Then we will talk about the external genitalia. That's known as vulva or pudendum. That's a female external genitalia. Like male have the penis, we female have the vulva. So it's present in between the legs and the groin region. Everyone knows about it. If this is the leg portion like this, it will be present just right here. Okay. All right. So here is a fat, cushiony layer which is known as mons pubis, and it has a lot of hair on it. It has a lot of hair. So this portion is mons pubis. So mons pubis have fat and hair. It acts as a cushion. So here is present the two lips. One is labia. It has two pair of lips. One is labia majora, which is a thick fleshy layer, and inside of them is present thin pair of lips, which is labia minora, like this. So this is labia majora. Labia majora. They are thick lips and they have hair. And then it is the labia minora, which is pink in color. And inside of the labia minora is this entire region inside of the labia minora. This region is vestibule. In vestibule is present two openings. One is the urethral opening and another is the vaginal opening. So this is the urethral opening, from where the urine passes out, and this is the vaginal opening. And this vagina is covered by a layer which is known as hymen. Hymen is a membrane-like structure which is vascular, and usually it is present in the virgin female, and it gets broken down during first sexual intercourse, leads to bleeding. But it's not always that if a female doesn't have a hymen, she has experienced sexual intercourse. This may also break during cycling or power yoga or playing some exercises. So having hymen in a female is not a indicator of the that a female is virgin or not. Fine. So here, where anteriorly to labia minora are meeting, is present a small structure, hood-like structure like this. This portion is clitoris. This is clitoris. It is homologous to penis. Clitoris is homologous to penis. Like male have penis, the females have clitoris, but it's not exactly the same, since it is erectile organ like penis. So that's why you call it as it is homologous to penis. So where it is present? At the junction of labia minora. Then here is present the anus. Here is present the, through which the digestive waste will come out. So here are also present two types of glands in a female in vestibule. One is greater vestibular gland and another is lesser vestibular. Lesser vestibular gland is also known as paraurethral gland. It is also known as paraurethral. Fine. Now let's talk about these glands. Both have the same function to perform. Both helps in lubrication. Both secrete mucus, but the location is different. The greater vestibular is present around vagina. It's present around vagina. Whereas lesser vestibular is present in the wall of urethra. The wall of urethra. If you see here, the greater vestibular, you will find it, one pair of it around the vagina like this. But if I talk about the lesser vestibular, it will be present inside the urethra like this. Okay, that's the lesser vestibular. So inside, for example, if this is the opening of urethra, it will be present here in the walls of urethra. From here the urine is coming. Okay, or if I say this is urethra, from here urine is coming. Fine, this from here, like this, urine is coming down here, so it will be present in the walls of urethra. Which one? Lesser vestibular. Whereas if this is vagina, it will be present outside the vagina. Which one? The greater vestibular. And the function of both these glands is lubrication. It secretes mucus, and you know, mucus helps in lubrication. All right. Okay, boys and girls, this was about the female and male reproductive system and the gametogenesis, wherein we have discussed spermatogenesis as well as the oogenesis. So I will teach other part of this in the human reproduction part 2 short. The first one has been completed. Till then, what you have to do? You have to study very hard. You have to study very hard, read the NCRT, and you know, whatever I have taught you, made the good notes, and we'll be discuss a lot of questions later on. Oh my god. Okay, so one question that I'm asking you, one question I'm asking you, you have to answer that in the comments. You have to answer that in the comments. Okay, so which part of a male reproductive system, which part of a male reproductive system stores and nourishes these sperms? Which part, which part, which part of male reproductive system stores the sperm? So this is, these two questions you have to tell. So this is question number 1 in the comments. Okay. And the second one question is, which gland is known as Skeen's gland? Which gland is known as a Skene? I will see all the comments. I will read all the comments. I will see how many of my students are literally serious and taking all my lectures and notes. So let's see. Also, spread this to your friends and let them know that Diksha ma'am is teaching you. So just come here, join us, and have good marks in your school. It's all free of cost. We are not asking for anything. We are just asking you to study here. We are giving our 100%. We are getting so much here. We are putting all our energies here. We are putting all our concentrations there, and I'm giving my 101%. I want all those in need should come here and study and study and study. And you guys give me answer in the comment section for these two. I will meet you in the next class, boys and girls, and we will study it in the later sections. Bye bye.